Hi, my name is Jalen, and I'm a student at Cass Lead.
My name is Isabel Yanis Gomez. I'm a freshman at Cass Lead High School.
Hi, I'm Tyson Toscano, and I am a student at Cass Lead.
Hello, my name is Callie Colas, and I'm a freshman at Cass Lead.
Hi, I'm Berkeley, and I'm a freshman at Cass Lead.
Hi, I'm Madison, and I am a freshman here at Cass Lead.
Hi, my name is Bradley, and I'm a freshman at Cass Lead High School.
CAS stands for Centers for Applied Science and Technology. CAS is known for partnering up with school districts such as Essential. It creates a unique learning experience and helps me set up for my future.
There are 3 pathways: retail, management, hospitality and tourism, and e-commerce.
The reason I think it's unique is because it gives us these opportunities that most schools don't. And say we want to run a business in the future, it'll help us to reach our goals.
What makes Cass Lead unique is the fact that it's not like any regular high school. It is a specialized business school for those kids who want to one day own their own business.
What makes learning at Cass Lead unique is you get the opportunity for internships and get to shadow people who are already out there working in the real world.
My classes and teachers are very small, so it's really teacher with student, very connected.
It's really amazing here because I get a lot of help from just every single teacher and help from other students as well.
My teachers at Cass Lead are so refreshing. They like to get to your perspective and help you as much as they can, as best as they can.
My teachers are really great, and I know I can always talk to them if I need help.
The teachers here, because the class is so small, they can individually help you through anything you're struggling with.
We are Cass Lead, we are EC.
We are Cass Lead, and we are EC.
We are Cass Lead, we are EC.
Clap, 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 clap. Not bad.
Hello, my name is Lana Villarreal, and I'm a 10th grader at Calumet High School. Welcome back. We are now joined by Lorenzo Gomez III. Lorenzo's driving passion is his love for his city, San Antonio, Texas, and he coined the term "a city on the rise." His goal is to enable others to see the vision and help advance the 7th largest city in the United States into a world-class center for startups, especially in the tech industry. Lorenzo may be best known for his work as a tech entrepreneur, including as a co-founder of the 80/20 Foundation, Geekdom, and Tech Block, among other initiatives. But he is most likely beloved for his gift in storytelling. Lorenzo's first book, The Cilantro Diaries, takes its name from his formative experiences working in the HEB produce section and offers business lessons from the most unlikely places, and importantly told from a place of humor and humility. His second book, The Fortro, delves more deeply into difficult experiences during middle school, and he offers a series of letters to his middle school self of things he wishes he had known at the time. His newest book, Directly Built, explores how the creation of a positive culture allows people to do their best work. At Cast, we've been so fortunate to be able to share his books and his time and give our students an opportunity to hear directly from one of our most talented local writers about his own life.
All right, I think that's my cue. Landon, thank you so much. All right, first things first. Let's give a big hand to Landon for that. And give me a thumbs up if you can hear me clearly. Can you hear me clearly? Awesome. All right. Well, I'm already impressed by how active you guys are in the chat. So I'm expecting a lot of great questions, which I'm sure I won't be able to answer half of them, but I'll give it my best shot. My name is Lorenzo Gomez. I grew up in San Antonio. I grew up in the inner city, come from a big family, 7 kids. I'm number 6 of 7. And as Landon said in his intro, I used to work at HEB. I used to work at a company here called Rackspace, which I'll get into a little bit more. And most recently, I worked downtown in the tech scene at a place called Geekdom. And I've written a few books. And so I published my 3rd book last year, which did very well. It was number 1 in like 5 categories on Amazon.com. And I'm working on my 4th book right now. And so what I wanted to do is I want to talk to you about storytelling. And the older I get, the more I realize how much I love storytelling. And it's something that I think it's a gift that I've been given, and I'm very grateful for it. And I love sharing it. I love teaching people about it, because I think that storytelling is one of the greatest skills that you can get that nobody tells you about and that nobody teaches. And so I'm going to walk you through just a little presentation on storytelling, and then I'm going to walk you through a quick, super short 4-part process on how to do your own storytelling so that you can go out and do storytelling even better than me. So I'm going to share my screen here real quick and walk you through this. And I promise you this PowerPoint has 8 slides. So I promise to not bore you. And let me all right, give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen. All right, awesome. Okay, so we're going to talk about storytelling. So why is storytelling important? I'm going to give you 3 reasons, and at the end, I'm going to give you a couple of other ones just as a bonus prize level. But these are the 3 main things that I want to cover. Everyone has a story. You might not think you do, but I guarantee you that you have a story. So everyone has a story. Your story can help someone out there in the world. And number 3, storytelling is how all human beings learn and how we teach the things that we want to pass on to those that we care about. And so let's start with the first one here. So this is a picture of my first book, The Cilantro Diaries. And let's talk about this. Everybody has a story. I know that right now there's someone on this Zoom call who's thinking, yeah, but Lorenzo, you don't know me and you don't know my life. And, I'm a shy kid, or, I haven't really done a lot and I don't really have anything to talk about. And I just want to stop right there and say, you have a story. Every single one of you has a story. Because I was also a very shy kid in school, and I didn't like talking. I didn't like socializing. And I want to frame it to you this way. If you told someone, hey, I'm shy, I get nervous around people, and you wrote it down on a blog and you posted it online, somewhere out there, someone's going to say, I deal with that too. I have that same problem. And boom, your story has connected with someone else's story. And so my first book, The Cilantro Diaries, I think is a great example of this, because I wrote this book, and one of the core settings of this book is young Lorenzo working in the produce department at HEB, which was me refilling the jalapenos and the tomatoes and the lettuce. And I have all these stories in there about working at HEB. And so you would think, well, why would anyone want to read about a guy who works at HEB? And the reason is that everyone has a story. And the story that I was telling in here was about starting my career in a place that was very approachable and very relatable to other people. And so I've had so many people read the Cilantro Diaries and tell me, oh my gosh, Lorenzo, your story reminded me of my story. And I also used to work at HEB. Actually, anybody here know someone's, your relative or your friend that's worked at HEB? I want you to put it in the comments, a brother, sister. And I think that this is what we forget about storytelling, is that it's our way to relate. Everybody has it. And no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, you have a story to tell. And that's really valuable. And so let's just stop there and let that sink in, that you have a story. It's this valuable treasure that you were in charge of, and you were the one that is in control of that story. And I think that's really cool. So the second thing that I want to tell you, and this is something that I stole from another author who I admire. His name is Max Lucado, and he's written over 200 books. And he said, he was saying that everybody should write a book because it can help a couple of people. Well, I'm going to change what he said and say, everybody has a story. And the more you tell your story will help more people. There is someone out there in the world that needs to hear your story because your story can help them through something they're going through a difficult time. Oh, Pablo, thank you for that showing the book. I love it. And so this is a picture of my second book, Tafoya Toro, and this is about the fear and anxiety that I went through when I was in middle school. And when I went to Tafoya back in the 90s, there was a huge surge of gang violence, a lot of drive-by shootings. I saw a lot of people get shot, and I was just very scared and afraid all the time. And so I wrote this book as a way to talk about it and to help someone else with my story. And I'll tell you, when I published the book, ever since I published this book in 2019, I've had at least 3 people come up to me and say, because in the book, one of the things that I talk about is how I had to go to therapy and how, there's nothing wrong with going to therapy because I had a lot of these issues that I had to process and I had to figure out how to deal with them. And I had 3 people tell me, it was the greatest compliment they could ever give me, was I read your book and I scheduled my first session with a therapist. Like, your book encouraged me to go talk to a therapist to deal with my stuff. And I had another person that said, man, I was so afraid too. And I read your book and it reminded me of how afraid I was. And I got to talk to my son or daughter about that fear and use the book as a way where we could come together and talk about this really complicated issue. And so, I want you to know that your story can help someone else. I did it in a book, doesn't have to be in a book. You can storytell, as we all know, through YouTube and Medium and Instagram and all these, they're just vehicles for storytelling. But this is the second point I want to leave you with, which is your story can help someone. Now, the third part of this is storytelling is how human beings learn and teach. And I want to go all the way back to the cavemen, right? So how did the cavemen pass on their knowledge? They did it through storytelling. Storytelling around the fires. When you study and you see the hieroglyphics of the ancient Egyptians that are on the walls of the tombs of the pyramids, what are those pictures? Those are stories. The way we pass down all of our knowledge from human being to human being is storytelling. We're the only species in the whole planet that can use storytelling to pass on knowledge and experience to one another. No other species can do that, just human beings. If you look at one of my favorite examples, and this isn't a religious statement at all, it's just an example, but if you look at one of the most famous books in the world, it's the Bible, and Jesus taught through parables. What's a parable? A parable is a short story. He took all the things that he wanted to teach, and he put them in a little story, and he gave it to the people that listened to him. Stories are the way to spread ideas, and that's why they're very powerful. So my third book is called The Rack We Built, and it is about my time in the very, very early days of a company called Rackspace. If anybody knows what Rackspace is, or if you know someone that works at Rackspace, or if you want to work at Rackspace, I want you to put a comment in the chat. I worked at Rackspace. I was one of the first 100 employees. It was one of the first tech companies in San Antonio. And what this book tells you is all stories. It's the stories of the beginning of the birth of the company. It's the stories of our values, how we made decisions, and all the things that we did at Rackspace were done through storytelling. We had a whole week when you got hired where they would put you in a room and they would tell you all the stories and all the values of what we did and what we had achieved to get to where we were going. And it was the number one way that our culture spread and that we built the company of Rackspace from a very tiny company to a huge, $2 billion a year company. It was powered by storytelling. So this is a picture of a woman who has a company in California that I really admire. Her name is Nancy Duarte. And she has a company that does presentations. They're the world famous, they're the world number one leader in presentations. And she is one of the greatest storytellers that I've ever studied. And so if you ever have time, I want you to go watch this TED Talk. It's called The Secret Structure of Great Talks. And she dissects and gives you the tools, a couple of the tools of what all great storytellers have. And if you look on this picture, you see the little squiggly lines. Well, part of her methodology, there's two parts, which I'm going to go over in a little bit, is the current state of the world and then the new world. And what she's talking about is whenever you're storytelling, whoever your audience is, whoever it is listening to you, it's where do you want to take them? So if you're watching a movie, they do this to you automatically. The current state of the world is this terrible place. And then we want to get you to this other place, this other idea, this other way of thinking. It's the from, it's the to. The from and to is what all great storytellers do. And so I want to go through two examples that she talks about in her TED Talk. One of them is very timely. So in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. this week, this is a quote, and she talks about his I Have a Dream speech in her talk. And so you can change the world with ideas through storytelling. So I want to read this quote from you. In his I Have a Dream speech, Dr. Martin Luther King says, I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at a table of brotherhood, at the table of brotherhood. So what Martin Luther King does is he describes the old world. And he says, I have a dream that there's this new world where they'll all be able to sit together, the table of brotherhood, the old world and the new world. This is what you have to do to your audience when you're storytelling, to take them from the world that is terrible to the new world, right? This is one of my favorite ones because I'm a tech guy. So in the same TED Talk, she talks about Steve Jobs and how you can use storytelling to sell 1 million products. And so in his TED Talk, when Steve Jobs rolled out the iPhone and the iPod, he said this one line right here. He said, imagine 10,000 songs in your pocket. Now, some of you might be too young for this, but in the old day, there was a cassette player and there was a CD player. And in the CD player, if it was an audio file, you could fit maybe 20 songs. If it was an MP3, you could fit a couple hundred, maybe 1,000, but never 10,000.
MP3, yes.
MP3. And so when Steve Jobs rolled this technology out, he said the old world was cassette, was CD. In the new world, imagine having a device in your pocket with 10,000 songs. Imagine 10,000 songs in your pocket. And it blew everyone's mind. And he used the story, a little story, to sell this product and sell this idea. And so what I want to walk you through next real quick is a quick method that I use when I'm doing all of my storytelling. And I want to give it to you as my gift so that if you're telling a story, you can use it if you don't have to use it. But the reason I want to give it to you is that there's two things that I believe every one of you are going to have to do at some point. And it has to do with selling. And when I mean selling, I don't mean going to the car lot and having someone sell you a brand new SUV. I mean, when you start working and when you either start a company or go work for another company, there are two things you have to sell. You have to sell yourself and you have to sell your ideas. These are the two things that everyone has to sell. Yourself and your ideas. And I would tell you that the most powerful way to sell both of those is through storytelling. The better you are at storytelling, the better you will sell yourself and your ideas. And so let me give you the little template that I use. Now, I went a little crazy with the graphics on here, so let me just walk you through it. There's 4 parts to this storytelling method. The first is on the top here. It's called the big idea. And so if you're telling a story, you always start with what is it that we're talking about? In my job, I have to talk a lot about the tech scene in San Antonio. So my big idea would be, I'm going to talk about the tech scene. Actually, let's just use this presentation example. I'm here to talk about storytelling. So my big idea would be storytelling. The current state of the world is, hey, you don't know that storytelling is super powerful and how much it can help you. And I want to move you to the new bliss, the new world, which is you can use storytelling to sell products, to sell ideas, and to change the world. That's how powerful storytelling is. And now I'm going to tell you a story of how to tell the story. Sorry, I'm over mixing my metaphors here. So what I want you to do is I want you to write down those 4 parts: the big idea, the from to, and the story. And most of the time you are the story, or you have a story, or you've heard a story, and the story is what you tell. But the story is what you always use to move people from the old world to the new world. And so Martin Luther King Jr.'s speech was, his big idea was, I have a dream. And he describes the current state of the world. He says, I have a dream that one day, and then he lists, and then he says, I have a dream that they will go from here to here. And I have a dream that they will go from here to here. And I will have a dream he'll go from here. And he's using that pattern and stories to move people from here to here. It's one of the most effective ways that you can tell a story. And it's what I use in all of my books. What is the idea I'm telling you about? And the reason I'm telling you about this is because we're in a place right now in the world where there's a lot of noise. There's a lot of noise on Twitter. There's a lot of noise on all the platforms, right? And I would say that the only way to effectively break through that noise is to use effective storytelling to sell yourself and to sell your ideas. All right, that's my 8-part presentation. Now, thank you. We're going to go to Q&A, so please don't beat me up too bad.
Don't worry. We're middle schoolers. What can we do?
Questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. Make sure you put question in front of it so that we know that you're asking a question.
I like the slide where you put how to tell a story. It's like with the rocket ship. It was really nice.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. It's I wanted something that said where you're taking your listener over. So I was like, if you're riding a rocket, I'm taking you from here, the old world, to the new world.
I like the MLK quote that you used.
Mm-hmm.
I love the rich American history that comes with that, and that comes with what had happened years ago yesterday. So I appreciate that.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right, I think we have some questions here.
All right. The first one is, what would you stress the most about school?
Well, my question to that question is, what would I stress about, or what would I stress to you to learn? What can I get just a little clarification?
What always just stressed you out the most?
What would stress me out the most? Oh, well, I would say when I was going to school, what stressed me out the most was my report card, because my parents had very strict A's and B's policy. And if I didn't get A's and B's, oh man, I was in so much trouble. Now, what I will tell you, that if I was going to school today, the thing that would stress me out the most is this right here, my phone. And I'll tell you why. And there's a book I'm going to write about this. I just haven't got around to writing it yet. Is that when I was in school, if someone was bullying me, I didn't have a phone, I didn't have a computer, I would just go home, and then I didn't have to deal with it anymore.
Your worries would disappear, it would melt away.
It would melt away. Whereas now, if I went to school and someone was bullying me, I take it home with me, literally into my room. And I think that the reason that would stress me out was because I wouldn't have known what boundaries to put in place. And I think that, especially in the time that you all live in, we need to learn what the boundaries are for this phone right here, so that how do we protect ourselves and protect our friends from these outside forces that cause a lot of stress. And when I look at the really hard job you all have to do, I'm so impressed by how many of you do a good job already of it. But that would be the thing that stressed me out, because I would want to look at it all the time, and I would read every comment, and it would make me, and I would start hyperventilating, and that would be the thing that stressed me out. Whereas I would have to have someone teach me the boundaries I have so that I could get some space from it. That's a great question, though. All right, what's our next question?
When did you start to know you wanted to write books to tell your stories?
That's a great question. When did I want to know I want to write books? Well, I didn't know this, but growing up, I realized that my parents are amazing storytellers. And when my parents tell stories, I just stop what I'm doing. And my older brother, he's a great storyteller. So I realized I come from a family of storytellers, but I didn't know that. When I started working at Rackspace, I remember in the early days, we were working so many hours and we would stay up there so late that we would all tell stories. But I noticed that people would like my stories a lot. And I remember one of my friends would tell me, hey, Lorenzo, tell them some of your cilantro stories. He would call them the cilantro stories. And I would tell them the stories that I ended up writing in the cilantro diaries. And I ended up realizing that, man, I love storytelling. It's really fun for me. And so that was the seed of an idea back when I was probably, 18, 19, but in my early 20s is when I really started thinking about it. And then it wasn't until my late 20s when I actually said, I need to look into this. And then I didn't write it till my late 30s. So I've been thinking about storytelling for a long time. And I'm glad you asked that question, because I would say that you don't have to be an author to be a storyteller. You can be a storyteller in whatever world that you live in. And you don't have to wait as long as I did to do it. I had a lot of insecurity, and I was afraid a lot, and I should have done it a lot sooner than I did. But it was probably in my late teens. Great question.
All right, next question is, how did you become a writer? Any advice for people who are interested in pursuing a career in writing?
Yeah, so writing's a hard gig, but if you're interested in doing writing, I would say the first thing you need to do is practice, right? I think that if you study storytelling, it makes writing a lot easier, because it's easy to write a story. You just, for me, I always have a good playlist going, and once I have the format, I'm just writing what the story is that I've seen in my head. But I think that one of the things that nobody talks about is I never write by myself. I write by myself, but when I'm going to publish something, I always work with someone else. And specifically, there's a woman that I've worked with on all of my books. Her name is Barbara Boyd, and she's my editor. And the reason I bring her up is I want you to know that it takes a team to do anything great. And so when I write, I give this to her, and it's really hard because you're very vulnerable. You've put all your heart into this, and so you feel wide open. Your heart's wide open to be crushed. And Barbara is the woman who tells me, she's my collaborator, and she says, Lorenzo, I love this story. I think we need to change this one. I think on this one, you're going to lose your reader, and I need you to explain this one more. And because of her counsel and advice, and because she's so good, I value her ideas. And so I take all of her edits and I put them in the book. And I think it's the reason my books read so well, or people have told me they read well, is because she makes sure that I'm on track and that I don't go off track for the reader. And so I would say, for all of you that are thinking about writing, find yourself someone who you could be intellectually honest with. The person that's going to make fun of you, that's not them. The person that's going to try to hurt your feelings and assassinate your self-esteem, that's not them. The people that genuinely want to help you be better, you need to partner with someone so that they can poke your ideas to make sure that they're awesome. And you take those and write it, and you combine their feedback with yours, and then you're going to write something truly special. Great questions.
When telling your story, where do you begin? Do you have several different stories for different situations?
Yeah, so great question. I think, so for me, it all depends on what the topic is. And so I have this really nerdy part of storytelling called What's the Category? And so for me, for Cilantro Diaries, that was a book written I really wrote it for my nephews because they were about to graduate high school. So I wanted to give them the book that was, hey, here's all the advice I would have given myself. So the category is business lessons from someone just graduating. That's the category. So then I go, once I have my category, what are the best stories I can tell within that category so that my audience will get a lot of value? Then my second book, Tafoya, was about fear and anxiety. And your question is really great because I had too many stories for that book. And so I had to ask myself, what are the questions that deal with fear and anxiety that will help my reader at the end of this book? And there's great stories about a lot of gangs getting into fights and crazy shootings, and a lot of them didn't make the book because they were cool stories They were in the category, but they did not help my reader, which what I had chosen, which was fear and anxiety, dealing with fear and anxiety. And so if you're writing out there, or if you're writing about a topic, what is the category? And you have to pick the stories that only point back to that big idea, which is why I put the big idea in the slide, right? And that idea is reinforced by the stories that you tell. I hope that answers your question. Let me know if it doesn't.
All right, so we're kind of running out of time, so this will be the last question. The question says, when you said you sell yourself and your ideas, is it really selling yourself or ideas and gaining profit? And how is it selling yourself if it is?
That's an awesome question. And I want to separate it from, it's not selling yourself for profit, even though you can do that. So I want to give you a great example. And so one day you're going to be working at a job, and hopefully it's a job that you like. And there's going to be a job opening that opens up, and you're going to say, I want that promotion, right? And you're going to say, these are all the reasons why I want that promotion, and this is the story behind those reasons. Now that is a little bit more towards the profit, because maybe you get a promotion, right? But so that's selling yourself for something you want to do. Now let's talk about selling your ideas. And actually, this is probably, both of these are applicable to where you are right now at Cast Tech. So let's say you go to your teacher and you say, I have this idea. I want to implement this new cool thing at Cast that we're not doing now. And the teacher's going to go and they're going to lean back and they're going to say, okay, give me your pitch. The way you sell your idea is through storytelling. You're going to say, well, we should learn this new technology. And this is why we should use this new technology. And I'll give you an example. I was once at the San Antonio Area Foundation, and I was put on the spot. And they said, Lorenzo, there's a grant for a 3D printer that we're going to put in the school. And they want you to sell the 3D printer. And I wasn't prepared for this. So I looked at this committee and I said, well, right now, the school that's going to buy this 3D printer doesn't know anything about technology. They think you have to be a genius, advanced calculus programmer, but technology's for everybody. And so I told them, I said, they're going to get this 3D printer, and someone who's never used technology before is going to go put a little line of code in, and they're going to take something like my wedding ring, and they're going to put in some line of code, and the 3D printer is going to print them out a plastic identical replica of my wedding ring. And when they see that line of code gives them this, they're going to go, oh, I can do that too. And so I used a story to sell the idea of what that 3D printer was going to do. And so every one of you students, let's just say you're going to run for class president. Let's say you want more responsibility. You have to sell yourself. Why should the teacher choose you instead of the person behind you? You have to sell yourself through your storytelling. And the last thing you do is, I need to sell my ideas, the things that I want to do, right? The new projects, the new programs, and all of that is done by effective storytelling. It's a great question.
All right. Well, I want to thank you for giving your time. I want to thank you for sharing your ideas. Sadly, we could not get to all the questions, so please,
Thank you.
next time we'll try and give more time so you can ask more questions. But thank you for your time, and we appreciate you giving us your ideas and how to tell a story. Maya, if you want to go ahead and take it from here.
Thank you, Mr. Gomez, for telling your story and giving us advice on how to start our stories. But we are now going to be moving on to our third set of workshops. Time management, Ignite Mind Shift will conduct a workshop for students to teach them how to effectively manage their time to achieve the results they want out of life. The Zen Design workshop, they're going to create Zines and talk about youth voice with Audrey Herrera, Trinity University student and SA 2020 Community Impact Assistant. Zines are short, self-published art books fun and a creative way to share your voice in the community. And the poetry session. I'm sorry, I can't talk. With Amy Stengel, sorry if I said that wrong, creative writing and tech theater teacher at Advanced Learning Academy and Cass Tech High School, and several for students will lead an interactive workshop on spoken word. Anybody have any questions before we move forward?
I don't know where I'm supposed to go.
So on our Cass Lead 2020 Google Classroom, they have this thing, this sheet with all the links. If anybody doesn't have any other questions, you can go ahead and join a session of your choice.
Which one is this one? Though, if we stay here, which one?
Hi, welcome to.
I think this one would be the poetry session. Poetry session. I'm sorry, I can't talk.
Poetry session. Thanks, Mike.
Paid high-demand jobs here in San Antonio. So come on in and check out our innovative campus.
My future feels a lot more well prepared. I feel like I can step into being an adult tomorrow and I will be more or less okay, more than I would have been if I was at a different school, because here they want you to feel safe going into a new life, into a new place all by yourself, and to
Don't look like a typical high school. We look like a high-tech company. So we have plenty of collaboration spaces where we work in small teams and groups, so we work together the way that we would in the workforce. We have plenty of great industry partners like HEB, who have sponsored our HEB Learning Staircase. Fun fact, here we have 50 mentors and 150 students in our mentoring program. As long as you're a sophomore or above and you apply, you too can have a mentor, so there's always room for growth. Here at Cass Tech, we have 4 different pathways that students can choose from, that being UX UI, business, computer science, or cybersecurity. My pathway is cybersecurity, where we focus on obtaining our Red Hat certification.
There are so many things that I'm getting here that I would have never gotten at any ordinary high school, like MLA formatting, and then other things like cybersecurity stuff, computer programming, or even like basic human reaction, because we took UX and they were showing us about colors and how colors can put a certain tone and mood into things. So it's just very interesting to get a bit of taste from everything, especially the business. They showed us how to do taxes, they showed us how to do things that normal high schools would never show us, and it's just great.
Here at Cass Tech, our students truly have a voice. This is evident in our UX UI pathway.
So once again, we got the patterns. Okay, who would buy it?
Being at Cass makes me feel empowered. I've always felt like I had a voice, and here at Cass Tech, I feel like I can use it. And my future is definitely changed because of the opportunities that Cass has and it provides.
You can do almost anything that you set your mind to here, because the teachers will be very supportive of it as long as you're willing to put in the time and the effort. You really can talk about what you want to talk about.
We're here.
Hi, you all. Wow, you look beautiful in there.
Where you want to tell everybody where you are?
We're all at the museum.
Yeah.
With our art exhibit behind us right there.
Woohoo!
But it's gonna you'll get to see it more up close later at 3:30. Just so you know.
Okay. So the class behind me helped with that sculpture. You see it in there? Really cool, right? But you'll get to see more about it later, right? So welcome everyone to our poetry workshop. I'm so glad to have you here. I'm going to switch over the screen. I'm going to share the screen. I'm just so impressed with our 3 live speakers up there. Okay, so I'm going to share our screen for a moment. Share. And I'm going to show you our presentation for the day. Well, that's not it. That's what we're doing. Here we go. So welcome to our poetry session. We're going to be talking about how fitting into the theme of Under One Sky. And some of you have worked on sculptures for that. Some of you have worked on photography projects for that. And now we're going to do a collective poem under that same sort of theme. And also in that creation, it's going to sort of get to the heart of what it means to do spoken word poetry. And that is sort of speaking your truth, the emotions, the things that you are feeling, being ready to express those and access those and not be afraid of that. So in our opening session, to try to get in the mind frame of that language, we have a Padlet here. I'm going to put the link in chat. So you guys can access it. And I think it's always good to sort of get our minds wrapped around what we're going to talk about, sort of front load our brains and access the emotions and the feelings and what we know, to sort of focus in on one idea. Very much similar to what Lorenzo Gomez was talking about, is the central idea that we're exploring. And today that's being a collective voice, one voice together, and the kinds of things that we can say together. So when you link on that, you're going to get to this page. And I put in blue the students that have already shared. I would very much like you to put your name on your contribution, because we'll be grabbing lines for that and adding them to our poems later. Here's the prompt in case you forget what it is as you're writing. Sometimes I do that. I start thinking and I forget what I was supposed to write about. So I have to go back to the prompt. And that is, what is it that makes you feel heard? And what is it that makes you feel like your words are understood? So if you would think about that, and I'm going to play some music and just take a few minutes and answer that question by contributing to the Padlet. Also, make sure your boxes don't layer on top of people's. You might have to move them. Sometimes they want to all stack over off the sides. So you have to find a place in the sky to put your contributions. Okay, very nice. Some beautiful words here. I'm going to stop sharing a minute and hand over the presentation to our three lovely poets in the picture here live at the museum. And they're going to talk a little bit about their responses and yours.
So we've a lot of stuff about.
You need me to share it?
Oh no, we can see it. About how people feel heard when they talk about things that they like, or if they talk to somebody out there who listens to them. We saw that last time.
I gotta turn the music off. Hold up.
We saw that last time as well. And
Okay, I don't know if we can hear you. Bella, try again.
Hello?
I can hear her.
We can just.
You guys hear Bella?
I think we saw a lot of things about people feeling heard when there's someone else who's who they can see listening to them, who's like acknowledging them, who's maybe laughing with them or talking to them.
Connor here said he was laughing and crying.
Yeah, whenever you're with someone and they understand how you feel, it's kind of the best feeling. And I think you can relate to, if you can relate to someone, I think that really makes you feel like you're not alone and can relate to someone else.
Yeah, and like if you have someone to talk to about things that are like troubling you, you can also release all the emotions that you may not show other people because you may not be as close to them. And so it's really helpful to have a good outlet, I guess, is what a lot of people are trying to say. And so it's definitely good that you guys know that there's someone out there who you should talk to. And when you do, you're feeling heard by that person you do talk to.
That was lovely, y'all. Do you want to keep going? Do you have something? You're good? Okay. So I really appreciate that summary of what we heard. So when we're talking about poetry and we're talking about spoken word, a lot of these ideas that you presented here can be shared with others through this idea of poetry. And a lot of times when you think you don't have a voice and you share it in writing, you can get that message out to an audience in a really refreshing way and in a really new way. So I'm going to share my screen again. And I think this is the one. If I do this, can you see? Nope, that's what we're adding to. Can you see this? Under one sky? Yay, okay. So we're going to experiment with a poetry form. This is optional, but I thought I would give you the opportunity to do that because some people feel safe within the structure of a poem. If that's not you, you can do it free flow, and that's okay too. But I wanted to have the option of you having both ways of writing in your toolbox for this next exercise. And so this is a poetry form called a cinquain poem. Was invented by a woman named Adelaide Crapsey. And I like her name. And I like that she's a woman that invented this. And most poetic forms were invented by men. So I thought that was kind of cool. It was inspired by the Japanese haiku. And when you link haiku together, you can create a long strand of haiku poems to make a longer poem. Adelaide had that same idea with the cinquain poems. So what we're going to do is take each of your little tiny poems and we're going to create a collective community piece that is focused on this idea of one voice under a sky and a tribute to our city. All those ideas presented into this one body. And so each poem will stand alone in its form. It will belong to you, but also belong to this collective piece. So the The syncate poem is in syllables like the haiku, only it goes 2 syllables, 4 syllables, 6 syllables, 8 syllables, 2 syllables. And Bella and Leela are going to read 2 examples that they wrote, just so you get an idea about what that sounds like.
Community. I am for a city that thinks it's a town, prideful, a belonging. We wrap our arms around what a small world our little town, our home.
Culture. My home, full of smells, full of different city sights, a place full of music and delights, my loves.
Okay, beautiful, thank you. And so you can see their poems, 2 syllables here, 4 syllables, 6 syllables, 8 syllables, 2 syllables. Aren't they lovely? And it's kind of a cool thing because once you start writing them, they just kind of start pouring out. Okay, so we're going to link. We're going to have about 10 minutes of writing time. And remember, you don't have to write. If this makes you nervous, like on the spot, you don't have to write a syncing poem. You can just write words. You can write a list. You can write a phrase. You can write a sentence. You can write 2 sentences. Whatever it is that you feel in response to this idea, you write it on this document. And we're going to take all of those and put them into a poem. So I'm going to click on this. One Sky, One Voice. These are the poems that were written earlier today. I'm going to go down and make room for you guys.
I did see like a 1-line poem option. That's just writing 1 sentence, right?
Yes, you can write just 1 sentence, or you can write multiple ones. Or you can write a bunch of 1-sentence poems linked together. Whatever feels right for you in response to this idea. Okay, I'm going to put the link into chat. The important thing is that you not judge. In spoken word, there's not, I want you to feel like you can be honest here, and you can just respond with that emotion, that feeling. I'm going to play the music. Whatever it is that you feel that you should write, you write it here, unedited and raw. And then we take that and we move it into a collective piece, if that makes sense. Okay? And you'll see an example of the beginning of a collected piece in a few minutes. After we spend some time writing. So I'm going to give you about 10 minutes at 3:32. I'll come back to you and we'll look at your write. Remember, please put your name and school and your grade underneath your poem, just like this. You're responding to this phrase, that's a jumping off piece. Oh, one thing also, when you get a prompt in a creative writing assignment, it's kind of like a diving board. You can do a triple gainer, you can do a backflip, you can do a cannonball, you can do a stomach flop, you can do whatever it is that you do off that diving board, right? You can say, no, thank you, I'm gonna go back to the edge and just do my lap swim. So, okay, so we have 5 minutes of writing time, which is fast. Okay, I'll play the music right now. So our time is a little bit shorter for presenting, but you have this link, and so you can keep adding to your pieces if you would like to. If you feel like you didn't get enough time, I'm going to hand this over. I shared with you that we were going to read an example of a Sin Cane poem linked together thematically. And so we're going to hear from our poets at the museum, and they're going to share this with you as we end for today.
We did fix the order.
I'm going to close my, hold on, let me stop the music. Okay.
Miss Dangle, can you see Connor on there? Like his name when you scroll down?
Yes.
Yeah, okay,
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
it fixed. All right, we're gonna start.
Okay, Lila.
Culture. I want a city that shows the beauty of its culture. My home full of smells, full of different city sights, a place full of music and delights. My loves.
Tacos. I am for a city that smells of love. It's warm, evoking feelings. Can scents be warm, loving? Breakfast tacos that smell like home. I'm home.
Yesterday. I am for a city that holds hands. Stop. Think. Can you recall when you lifted me up? No, I have not forgotten you, my friend.
I want a city that makes me feel comfortable to walk alone at night.
Seasons. I am for a city that shows the beauty of its seasons. Cool breezes, hot blazing sun, heats up the city streets, it cools down the city nights. No snow.
Union. I am for a city that is intertwined with nature. Nature. Intertwined mess. Trees and buildings as one. So the land will meet with the sky. Union.
Colors. I want a city that shows the beauty of its colors. A whirl, art and city life, places where you imagine. A place where it becomes a living thing. Our creations.
I am for a city that shows happiness and community.
I'm for a city that supports families expressing their love to one another.
Community. I am for a city that thinks it's a town, prideful, a belonging. We wrap our arms around. What a small world, our little town, our home.
City sky. I am for a city that has wide open spaces. Open, wide spaces here, in the morning sky, high above the building's shadow, peaceful.
Of man and nature. I'm for a city that is simple yet efficient. Simple, efficiency, born from circumstances. Of Mother Nature and mankind, born young.
I want a city that shows the beauty of its nature.
Parks. I am for a city that is green. A park, a place that's green. A wanting that I need, a memory that I can keep, a dream.
Solar rays. I am for a city that is well lit by the sun above. The sun, a bright lit in. The heavens above and shining light on a city below, lightly.
I want a city that feels like the comfort of home.
Today, I am for a city that mourns together. Last night, somebody hurt, and our city hurt too. But we feel each and every smile, caring.
Our world. I want a city that shows the beauty of its own world. Our world, a place full of life, lights that can light up our sky, a city full of love and happiness. We are home.
No sleep. I am for a city that never sleeps. No sleep. All dark nights, the unrelenting dreams, the sleepless times where I can't think, restless.
Look up. I am for a city that looks to the sky. In dark, the North Star guides. At sunrise, remember, don't despair. Look up to the sky. Have hope.
Thank you.
Yay. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take your poems and we're going to weave them together into the larger poem. So again, if you feel like you didn't get to finish, the link to that page where you're putting your words is here. I'm going to put it right here again, just in case you didn't see that. And we're going to create a collective poem with the whole Cass Tech network. And that's very exciting. So I'm going to move this to the moderator to take over for our closing. Beautiful, y'all. Thank you. These poets, I tell you, they're special.
So thank you very much. What we'll do is we'll give the other students a couple minutes to come back into this room while we move into the museum portion of our program.
Okay, Stephanie, Kaya, Letza, and Alex, are you guys ready for the closing? You don't do it until after lunch, but are
Yes,
you ready?
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right, just checking. I should have known.
Was I in the closing as well? Because on mine it says 3:45.
Who is talking?
It says I'm after Letza. Maya.
Okay, no, we changed that to Alex. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Hi, my name is Emiliano. I'm a freshman at Advanced Learning Academy, and this is our makerspace where we bring design thinking to life with hands-on learning. We use this space to help us showcase what we know, our knowledge in the PBL. The whole new way where you get to research and then build something which is more hands-on. So it's more like, instead of just someone telling you, you kind of legitimately learn what you're using, and it just builds a whole new experience when you get to use your hands to create something that resembles what you just learned.
Something that makes ALA different is that we are on the same campus as two other high schools, Fox Tech and Cass Tech. So we get the opportunity to meet other kids and compete with them in athletics. So I competed in cross country this year, and I got to train with and meet students from Fox Tech and Cass Tech.
Hi, my name is Diego Villegas and I'm a senior at the Advanced Learning Academy. One thing that is extremely special about the Advanced Learning Academy, and something that I don't see that much in other schools that I know is special about the Advanced Learning Academy, is the power of the student voice. The staff and faculty ensure that our voice is heard, and there are plenty of opportunities for us to voice our opinions or disagree with something if we don't like the way that the school is being run.
One of the things that makes ALA so special is that this is a place that prepares students for college, career, and life. Thank you for your interest in ALA. We look forward to welcoming you to our community.
Hi, we're live with our cast inspirator, Mark Manjivar from the museum. Mark Manjivar is a San Antonio-based artist and assistant professor in the School of Art and Design at Texas State University. He is also a current member of the Advanced Learning Academy Advisory Board. His children are also students at ALA. His work explores diverse subjects through photography, archives, oral history, and objects. He holds a BA in social work from Baylor University and an MFA in social practice from Portland State University. We began this journey with the question, what do we want our city to be? And here's Mark Manjivar to start us off.
Thank you so much, Priscilla. And it is so exciting to be here with all of you today. We are at the Museum, and I just want to say thank you, first off, to the Museum for hosting us today and for, just for all the great work that they do here in our community. I also want to thank the H.E. Butt Foundation for funding and for helping support this exhibition that's been happening. Also want to say thank you to the CAST Network and Jean and all of her leadership. And most importantly, I want to say thank you to all of you who have participated in this project. Today, over the next few minutes, we are going to share the work that we have been making together over the past few months to explore our city, to point out the strengths in it, and also to speak to what we want our city to be. And to get us started off, I'm going to pass it over to Bella, Leila, and Connor to share some poetry from us that was written.
Okay, so we're gonna read the collective word poem that we made based off of this entire project. Culture. I want a city that shows the beauty of its culture. My home, full of smells, full of different city sights, a place full of music and delights. My loves.
Tacos. I am for a city that smells of love. It's warm, evoking feelings. Can scents be warm, loving? Breakfast tacos that smell like home. I'm home.
Yesterday, I am for a city that holds hands. Stop, think. Can you recall when you lifted me up? No, I have not forgotten you, my friend.
I want a city that makes me feel comfortable to walk alone at night.
Seasons. I am for a city that shows the beauty of its seasons. Cool breezes, hot blazing sun, heats up the city streets, it cools down the city nights. No snow.
Union. I am for a city that's intertwined with nature. Nature. Intertwined mess. Trees and buildings as one. So the land will meet with the sky. Union.
Colors. I want a city that shows the beauty of its colors. A whirl, art and city life. Places where you imagine. A place where it becomes a living thing. Our creations.
I'm for a city that shows happiness and community.
I'm for a city that supports families, expressing the love to one another.
Community. I'm for a city that thinks it's a town. Prideful, a belonging. We wrap our arms around. What a small world, our little town, our home.
City sky. I'm for a sky that has wide open spaces. Open, wide spaces here, in the morning sky, high above the building's shadow. Peaceful.
Of man and nature. I'm for a city that is simple yet efficient. Simple, efficiency, born from circumstances, of Mother Nature and mankind, born young.
I want a city that shows the beauty of its nature.
Parks. I am for a city that is green. A park, a place that's green, a wanting that I need, a memory that I can keep, a dream.
Solar rays. I am for a city that is well lit by the sun above. The sun, a bright lit inn. The heavens above and shining on a city below, lightly.
I want a city that feels like the comfort of home.
Today, I am for a city that mourns together. Last night, somebody hurt, and our city hurt too. But we feel each and every smile, caring.
Our world. I want a city that shows the beauty of its own world. Our world, a place full of life, lights that light up our sky, a city full of love and happiness. We are home.
No sleep. I am for a city that never sleeps. No sleep. The all dark nights, the unrelenting dreams, the sleepless times where I can't think. Restless.
Look up. I am for a city that looks to the sky. In the dark, the North Star guides. At sunrise, remember, don't despair, look up to the sky, have hope.
Thank you.
Amazing, y'all. And I think that, so I could listen to that poem all day long. Miss Stengel, you put that in the comments, and I completely agree with you. It is so powerful. I want to invite you all to take a second to think back to 3 months ago. I think some of you were in the first workshop that we did together when we started this whole project. And we started with the same sentence stem that they just read, right? I am for a city that. And if you, those words that you spoke that were so powerful during that time, we have taken those and we've combined them with another invitation that we extended to everybody. And that was to make a photograph of the sky above your home. Because even during this time of social distancing, physical distancing, when we are all separated, we're all still together under the same sky. So you can see these. I'm for a city that's like a big tree. I'm for a city where I don't get anxiety walking down the street alone. I'm for a city that fills minds and bellies. I love this one here. I'm for a city that has free ice cream parlors, right? Free ice cream cones everywhere. I'm for a city that doesn't mock or ridicule others for their dreams. All of these, all of your statements with your photographs are installed now on the windows of the Museum. I'm going to continue around here. I'm for a city that's made of breakfast tacos. So fun. I'm for a city with art on every corner. I'm for a city that is proud of its diversity. I am for a city that encourages individuality, but fosters community. When we were listening to Lorenzo just now, he was talking about storytelling. And this one here, I think, is particularly powerful. I'm for a city that celebrates a love of storytelling. Y'all, your words and your photographs are going to be here on the in the windows of the Museum for the up until at least the middle of May, until May 15th. And we hope that so many of you can come out and to stand inside of this place and feel the immersive beauty that you have all created. So when we started off with this invitation, it was to write poems to or about your city, to make photographs of your city. And then also the final prompt that we've been doing, we've done about 8 workshops at different schools across the CAST network, has been to imagine new monuments for our communities, right? We did workshops where we talked about what monuments are, what they could be, who they could be for, right? Not just for important or famous people, but they could be for everybody in our families and in our neighborhoods. They could be for our moms, for our dads. And with that, I want to share with you the other.
Where did he go?
You're muted.
So,
Oh.
yeah.
This you could see so many of these pieces that are coming together. And one of the fun things that I want to share with you today is that today represents just the beginning of this project. This monument is going to be coming to your campuses, installed in your places, and you will have an opportunity to continue to add to this monument that represents all of us in San Antonio. So I'm incredibly excited about that. I'm going to try to see if I can turn my camera around here. I just want to again say thank you to all of you for all the hard work and effort that you have put into the past few months together. And I deeply look forward to the work that is still ahead for us as we dream about what we want our city to be, and we invite others to transform it in ways that are seen and unseen. And with that, I will pass it over to Jean.
So we're live here in the Museum, y'all, and it is so beautiful, and I wish that you all were here with us, but I know that you're here in spirit. I just want to say once more an incredible thanks to our host, the Museum, to Mark Menjivar for working with all of our campuses, to all of our student leaders who put this on and emceed and participated and ran workshops, to our amazing nonprofit partners. And I also want to say a special thanks to all of our funders. With this effort, so this exhibit is going to stay in the Museum, and it did cost some money to put it up and all of that. And we had funding from the Annie E. Casey Foundation, from CPS Energy, from HEB, from Holt Cat, from Jungle Disc, from Telemundo, and from T. Donovan Creative. So thank them so much. If you have any relationship with any of those funders, they believe in you. They believe in Youth Voice. And we're so grateful to them and to all of you who showed up with such great energy over these 2 days. Before we close, we're going to turn it over to some members of our student advisory who are just going to share a little bit about their kind of takeaways from these 2 days together. But I want to thank all of you so much for showing up and for all of your tremendous positive belief in our city, and especially today to Mark, who led this work over the last couple months. So thank you.
At CAST, we lead with student voice. Our interests and questions help shape our broad goals and objectives of our schools. As students, we established this inaugural youth rally to elevate our voice as a network of schools, as a community, as leaders.
This morning, Ms. Gies reminded us of the power we have to shape our destiny. Mr. Gomez reinforced the importance of vision, purpose, and of those who are most dear to us. Mr. Mendevar showcased the beauty and impact of our ideas through art.
Kaya?
Thank you. We learned today that racial justice, what it is. We learned yesterday how Mr. Brown taught us that even as small as a comic book can change your lives. We learned today that someone can write a story and it can impact everyone's lives. We learned that writing poems about our city is impactful to our city. May I add one more thing before we close this?
Yes.
I'm for a world that is always sunshine and rainbows like we all know it can be. Thank you. We truly appreciate everyone for coming here today.
We are honored by those who support us to bring this to life. We are CAST.
I would like to say something.
Okay.
I am very proud of all of us and the hard work that we've doing. Definitely keep it up towards the end of the year. And I will always be proud to be from San Antonio, Texas.
Does anybody else have words of goodbye?
I just wanted to say I truly appreciate everybody and all the people that have written stories. Miss G's, Mr. Gomez, Tony Weaver, and everybody that has came and told us their life story. And I really appreciate that they're able to do that with us.
This was a lot of fun. Let's do it again. Yay.